The Anderson family dinner table had always been a battlefield of financial debates, but that night in 2013 was different. That was the night I told them I was selling my car to buy Bitcoin. "You're doing what?" Michael, my older brother, nearly choked on his wine. As the youngest vice president in Morgan Stanley's history, he considered himself the family's financial expert. "Bitcoin," I repeated, maintaining eye contact. "It's trading at $100 right now. I think it could hit $1,000 by year's end." "Alex, sweetheart," my mother intervened, using her talking to a child voice despite me being 25. "Maybe you should listen to your brother. He knows about these things." Michael leaned back in his chair, swirling his expensive wine with the smug confidence of someone who thought he knew everything about money. "Bitcoin is a scam, plain and simple. No institutional investor would touch it. It's magic internet money for gamblers and criminals." Our father, a retired investment banker himself, nodded in agreement. "Son, if you want to invest, I can introduce you to some real opportunities. Proper stocks, bonds, reliable things." I looked around the table at my family, all of them so certain, so convinced of their traditional financial wisdom. Even my sister Sarah, who usually stayed out of these discussions, was shaking her head disapprovingly. "I'm not asking for permission," I said quietly. "I'm telling you what I'm doing." "With your own money, fine," Michael scoffed. "But don't come crying to us when you lose it all." The next day, I sold my BMW for $45,000 and put every cent into Bitcoin. My family thought I was insane. Michael made sure to remind me at every opportunity how reckless and naive I was being. But I wasn't just buying Bitcoin. I was studying blockchain technology, learning about cryptocurrency trading, and developing what would become next-gen crypto exchange. While my family saw only magic internet money, I saw the future of finance. Working from my small apartment, I spent 18 hours a day coding, learning, building. My first version of the exchange was crude, but it worked. I launched it just as Bitcoin hit $1,000, exactly as I predicted. Michael's response: "A lucky guess. It's a bubble that'll burst any day now." By early 2014, my exchange was handling $100,000 in daily transactions. Small by traditional standards, but growing. I added more cryptocurrencies, improved the interface, enhanced security. Then came the call that changed everything. "Alex," David Chin's voice crackled through my phone. "I heard about your exchange from some friends in Silicon Valley. We should talk." David Chin, the legendary tech investor who'd backed some of the biggest names in Silicon Valley, he wanted to meet me. The meeting was set for the same day as our monthly family dinner. I showed up late, still buzzing from my conversation with David. "Sorry I'm late," I said, sliding into my usual seat. "Had an important meeting." "Oh?" My mother perked up. "A job interview? You know, Michael could put in a word at the bank." "Not exactly," I smiled. "A venture capitalist wants to invest in my exchange. $5 million for a 10% stake." The silence that followed was deafening. Michael broke it with a laugh. $5 million? For your little Bitcoin website? Alex, come on. No serious investor would. David Chen. I cut him off. "You know, the guy who backed PayPal and Stripe?" That David Chen. For the first time in my life, I saw my brother speechless. That's impossible," he finally managed. "David Chen doesn't invest in cryptocurrency. He does now." I pulled out my phone and showed them the signed term sheet. "The deal closes next week. My exchange is now valued at $50 million. My father leaned forward, suddenly interested. Son, perhaps we should discuss this. I have some experience with venture capital deals. No need, I interrupted. The lawyers have already reviewed everything. I'm not here to ask for advice. I just thought you should know that your son's magic internet money scam is now worth more than your entire investment portfolio, Dad. The look on their faces, the slow realization that maybe, just maybe, they'd been wrong, was priceless. But it was nothing compared to what was coming. Because what they didn't know was that the David Chen deal was just the beginning. My exchange wasn't just another cryptocurrency platform. It was about to revolutionize how digital assets were traded. And my family, with all their traditional financial wisdom, had no idea what was about to hit them. I left dinner early that night, ignoring Michael's suddenly friendly attempts to discuss potential synergies between my exchange and his bank. In my car, I checked my phone. Bitcoin had just crossed $1,200. My initial $45,000 investment was now worth over $500,000. But more importantly, my exchange was processing over $1 million in daily transactions. Back in my apartment, still the same modest place I'd lived in for years, despite my growing wealth, I opened my laptop and stared at the code for our newest feature. Something that would change everything: institutional-grade trading tools for cryptocurrency. Michael and his banking friends thought crypto was just for retail investors and criminals. They were about to learn how wrong they were. My phone buzzed. A message from David. Alex, the board loved your presentation. We're ready to fast-track the expansion. How soon can you launch the institutional platform? I smiled, thinking about Michael's dismissive comments about magic internet money. 3 months, I typed back, just in time for the next family dinner. As I worked through the night, my mind wandered back to all the family dinners where I'd been lectured about real investing. All the times Michael had talked down to me about financial markets. All the times my father had tried to push me toward a proper banking career. They thought they knew everything about money. But they were about to learn that the future of finance wouldn't be found in their mahogany-paneled boardrooms or traditional trading floors. The future was being built in apartments like mine, by people they dismissed as dreamers and fools. And I was just getting started. 3 months passed in a blur of code, meetings, and sleepless nights. Next-gen crypto exchange wasn't just growing, it was exploding. Our daily trading volume had hit $100 million, and that was before launching the institutional platform. The morning of the next family dinner, I sat in my new office on the 50th floor of a downtown skyscraper, reviewing our latest numbers. Bitcoin had just crossed $5,000, making my initial investment worth over $2 million. But that was pocket change compared to what the exchange was now worth. Mr. Anderson? My assistant Emma poked her head in. Morgan Stanley is on line 3. Again. I smiled, knowing exactly who was calling. Let me guess. My brother? Yes, sir. He's called 4 times this morning. Keep taking messages. I turned back to my screens, watching the trading volume tick up. Michael could wait. He'd been trying to get a meeting for weeks, ever since rumors about our institutional platform started circulating on Wall Street. My phone buzzed with a text from Sarah, my sister. Mom wants to make sure you're coming to dinner tonight. She says it's important. Of course, it was important. The whole family had suddenly become very interested in my little Bitcoin website since the David Chen investment went public. At exactly 7 p.m., I pulled up to my parents' house in my new Tesla Model S. No more old apartment. I'd finally decided to start living like the billionaire I was becoming. Not that my family knew about that part yet. Alex, my mother rushed to greet me at the door. We were just talking about your, what do you call it? Crypto thing. I stepped into the dining room to find not just my immediate family, but several surprise guests. Uncle Peter from Goldman Sachs, Cousin William from J.P. Morgan, even my father's old partner from his investment banking days. Michael sat at the center of the table, practically bouncing with barely contained excitement. Alex, perfect timing. We were just discussing potential opportunities for collaboration. I took my seat, noting how everyone seemed to be watching me. Were you now? Yes. Uncle Peter leaned forward. Michael tells us your platform is doing quite well. We'd love to hear more about it. I bet they would. What they didn't know was that I just finished a board meeting where we'd reviewed their bank's desperate attempts to get early access to our institutional platform. Actually, I said, pulling out my phone. Why don't I show you? I projected our latest statistics onto the dining room wall using a small portable projector. The numbers spoke for themselves. Daily trading volume, $500 million. Active users, 2 million. Institutional clients waitlist, 400 plus. Platform valuation, $2.8 billion. The room went silent. That's impossible. William stuttered. Those numbers can't be right. They're actually outdated, I replied calmly. This morning's volume crossed $600 million. We're the fastest growing cryptocurrency exchange in history. Michael's face had gone pale. But you never said. You never asked, brother. Too busy telling me how cryptocurrency was a scam, remember? My father cleared his throat. Son, with numbers like these, you must be thinking about taking the company public. I have some contacts at Goldman who cooled. We don't need traditional investment banks, I cut him off. In fact, as of next week, they'll need us. I pulled up another screen. The preview of our institutional trading platform. NextGen Prime launches Monday. It's going to revolutionize how banks and hedge funds trade digital assets. We've already signed partnerships with 3 of the top 5 financial institutions in the world. Which ones? Uncle Peter demanded. I'm afraid that's confidential, but I'm sure your bank's CEOs will tell you soon enough. They've been quite enthusiastic in our meetings. The atmosphere in the room shifted. Suddenly, I wasn't little Alex playing with internet money. I was Alexander Anderson, the CEO they'd been desperately trying to meet. Now, I continued, I understand several of your institutions have been trying to schedule meetings about potential partnerships. Nods around the table. Those requests go through our institutional sales team, just like everyone else's. No family shortcuts. Michael stood up abruptly. This is ridiculous. We're your family. We have decades of banking experience. You need our expertise. I laughed softly. Need your expertise? Michael, your bank's entire crypto trading desk has less daily volume than what our platform processes in an hour. What exactly could you teach me about this market? But the risks, the regulations, are all being handled by the best teams money can buy. Our compliance department is headed by the former chief of cryptocurrency enforcement at the SEC. Our security team includes top experts from the NSA and Israeli intelligence. And our trading infrastructure. I smiled. Well, let's just say it makes your bank systems look like they're running on Windows 95. My mother, trying to salvage the situation, jumped in. Darling, we're all so proud of your success. We just want to be involved. To help. Like you helped when I started. When I was working 18-hour days building this from scratch. when Michael was telling everyone who would listen that my business was a scam. Silence. I have a meeting with the Central Bank of Singapore tomorrow morning, I said, standing up. They're interested in using our technology to build their national digital currency platform. So if you'll excuse me. Wait, my father called as I reached the door. What? What's the company actually worth now, with all these partnerships and developments? I turned back, making sure to meet Michael's eyes. The latest private funding round valued us at $5.2 billion. My stake is just over 70%. The sound of my brother's wine glass shattering on the floor punctuated my exit perfectly. In my car, I checked my messages. 23 missed calls from various family members' banks. 5 urgent emails from Michael's boss. And 1 message that made me smile. Confirmation that Morgan Stanley CEO wanted to meet. I typed a quick response to my assistant. Schedule the meeting for next week, but make sure Michael is there. I want him to see exactly who he's been calling a fool all these years. As I drove away, I thought about how different things were from that first family dinner when I announced my Bitcoin investment. They'd laughed then, called it fake money, said I was throwing my life away. Now they were practically begging for a piece of what I'd built. But the best part? They still didn't know about our newest development. The one that would make everything we'd done so far look small in comparison. The one I was saving for our next family dinner. The meeting with Morgan Stanley CEO was scheduled for 10 a.m. in our New York headquarters. I made sure Michael would have a front row seat to what was coming. I sat in my office, 52 floors above Manhattan, watching the morning sun glint off neighboring skyscrapers. The wall of screens behind my desk displayed real-time trading data from NextGen's platforms. Over $2 billion in trading volume already, and it wasn't even lunchtime. They're here, Emma announced through the intercom. Send them up. And Emma? Make sure the presentation is ready. The elevator doors opened to reveal Morgan Stanley's entire executive team, led by CEO James Harrison. Michael trailed behind them, trying to look important, but clearly uncomfortable. Alexander. Harrison stepped forward, hand extended. Finally, we meet in person. I gestured to the conference room where the wall-to-wall windows offered a stunning view of the city. Please, make yourselves comfortable. As they took their seats, I noticed Michael's eyes darting around, taking in every detail of our office. The state-of-the-art trading floor, visible through glass walls. The hundreds of employees bustling about. The massive screens showing our global operations. Quite an operation you've built here, Harrison began. Your institutional platform has certainly caught our attention. Yes, I smiled. I believe you've been trying to get a meeting for. How long, Michael? My brother shifted uncomfortably. Alex, 3 months, Harrison cut in. Which is why we're here today. We want to discuss a potential partnership. Morgan Stanley has significant resources that could help expand your platform's reach. I leaned back in my chair. Interesting. And what exactly do you think we need help with? Well, Harrison gestured to his team. We have decades of experience in traditional finance, global infrastructure, regulatory relationships. Let me stop you there. I pressed a button, and the room's screens came to life. Let me show you something we haven't made public yet. The screens displayed a global map with pulsing lines connecting different points. This is NextGen's current network. We process more transactions per second than all major stock exchanges combined. Our security protocols are 3 generations ahead of anything in traditional banking. And our regulatory compliance systems are being studied by central banks as a model for the future. I switched to another screen. But that's not why you're really here, is it? You're here because of this. The screen showed a preview of NextGen's newest platform, introducing NextGen Bridge, the future of global finance. Harrison leaned forward, his eyes widening. Is that a fully integrated platform that bridges traditional finance with digital assets? Real-time settlement, cross-border transactions without intermediaries, complete integration with existing banking systems. I paused for effect. And we've already signed exclusive partnerships with 3 major central banks. Michael stood up so abruptly his chair nearly toppled. That's impossible. The regulatory requirements alone have all been approved. I finished for him. While you were busy calling cryptocurrency a scam, we were revolutionizing the entire financial system. Harrison's face had gone pale. The rumors about Project Phoenix, that was you. I nodded. NextGen Bridge launches next month. We're offering partnership opportunities to a select few institutions. I slid a document across the table. This is our only offer to Morgan Stanley. Harrison grabbed the paper, his hands shaking slightly as he read. His eyes stopped at one particular line. This values your company at $12 billion. I confirmed. And that's just the beginning. Michael looked like he might faint. The brother who had mopped my magic internet money was watching his bank negotiate for scraps from my empire. The terms are non-negotiable, I continued. You have 48 hours to decide. After that, we move on to the next bank on our list. But we need time to conduct due diligence, Michael sputtered. To review the technology. No, you don't. I stood up. Because every minute you spend deciding is a minute your competitors could be signing with us instead. Isn't that right, Mr. Harrison? Harrison was already pulling out his phone. I'll call an emergency board meeting for this afternoon. As the Morgan Stanley team filed out, Harrison paused at the door. Michael never mentioned his brother was building something like this. No, I smiled. He was too busy telling everyone it was a scam. After they left, I sat alone in the conference room, thinking about how far things had come from that first family dinner. My phone buzzed, a message from Sarah. Mom's planning another family dinner next week. Says it's important we all talk about recent developments. I texted back. Perfect timing. I have something to announce. What my family didn't know, what even Morgan Stanley didn't know, was that NextGen Bridge was just the beginning. The real bombshell would come at that dinner. The week passed in a blur of activity. Morgan Stanley signed our partnership agreement within 24 hours. 6 other major banks followed suit. NextGen's valuation jumped to $15 billion. The night of the family dinner arrived. This time, I had my driver take me in the Rolls-Royce. Might as well embrace it fully. The usual suspects were all there, plus a few new additions. More interested family members who had suddenly remembered my existence. Alex. My mother hugged me tightly. We've been reading all about your company in the news. Why didn't you tell us it was so successful? You never asked, Mom. Too busy worrying about my poor life choices, remember? Michael sat in the corner, nursing a drink. He'd been demoted at Morgan Stanley after the partnership negotiations. Apparently, failing to recognize a revolutionary financial technology being built by your own brother wasn't great for a banking career. My father stood up, champagne glass in hand. I'd like to propose a toast to my son, Alexander, who has proven us all wrong and built something truly remarkable. Actually, I interrupted. I have an announcement to make first. All eyes turned to me. NextGen isn't just launching a new platform. We're going public next month. I paused, letting that sink in. Initial valuation estimates put us at $30 billion. My stake will be worth approximately $21 billion. The room erupted in chaos. Glasses dropped. People started talking all at once. But more importantly, I continued, raising my voice slightly, we're establishing the NextGen Foundation, a $5 billion initiative to fund technology education and entrepreneurship programs. That's wonderful, son, my father managed. Yes, is. And here's the interesting part. It's specifically aimed at funding innovators whose families don't believe in them. People like me, who have to sell their cars to fund their dreams because their own flesh and blood won't even listen. The room fell silent. The Foundation's first program, a scholarship for young entrepreneurs. The qualification essay topic. How did your family discourage your dreams? I stood up, straightening my jacket. Oh, and one more thing. We're launching a financial literacy program teaching people about cryptocurrency and digital assets. I'm naming it after you, Michael. So everyone will remember how the great investment banker couldn't see the future of finance when it was sitting right across his dinner table. Alex, my mother started, surely you understand we were just worried about you. No, Mom. You weren't worried. You were judgmental, controlling, convinced that your way was the only way. I looked around the table. All of you were, and now you're all trying to get a piece of what I built despite you. I walked to the door, then turned back. The NextGen IPO is going to be the biggest in history, and none of you will get a single pre-sale share. Instead, I'm allocating those to young entrepreneurs who, like me, have families that don't believe in them. But we're family, Michael protested weakly. No, I replied. You're just people who share my DNA. Family supports each other. Family believes in each other. Family doesn't mock dreams or call innovation scams. I pulled out my phone and showed them one final screen. NextGen's new headquarters under construction. A 100-story tower that would dominate the city skyline. See that? I pointed to the location. It's being built right across from Morgan Stanley. Every morning, Michael, you'll look out your office window, assuming you still have an office, and see my name on the tallest building in this city. As I left, I heard the chaos erupting behind me, but I didn't look back. In my car, I opened my laptop to check the latest trading volume. $5 billion and counting. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from Sarah. They deserved that. And for what it's worth, I always believed in you. I smiled. Maybe one family member got it right. The next morning, I stood in my office, watching the sun rise over the city. The headlines were already rolling in about NextGen's IPO announcement. The financial world was in a frenzy. Emma came in with my morning coffee. Your brother's been calling again. Let me guess. He wants to discuss pre-IPO shares. Actually, she smirked, he wants to know if we're hiring. Apparently, Morgan Stanley is downsizing their traditional trading desk. I laughed. Tell him to apply online, like everyone else. As I looked out at the city, I thought about that first Bitcoin purchase. The car I sold. The dreams they mocked. The future they couldn't see. Sometimes success isn't just about proving others wrong. It's about proving yourself right. And sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't in the billions you make. It's in watching those who doubted you realize just how wrong they were. My phone buzzed again. Bitcoin had just hit a new all-time high. I smiled. The future of finance was here. And I owned it.